The crystalline chamber of the Galactic Council trembled with an energy that hadn't been felt in 3,000 cycles. Ambassador Emma Chun stood at the human delegation's podium, her dark eyes reflecting the swirling nebula visible through the transparent dome above. Beside her, Commander Jackson Rivera maintained his military posture, his jaw set in a way that had become familiar to the Council over the past 6 months. "The human delegation respectfully declines the Council's proposal," Emma announced, her voice carrying through the translation matrices that lined the chamber walls. The effect was instantaneous. The Velcron representative's sensory stalks wilted in shock. The crystalline archons blazed with indignant light. Even the ancient Primus, whose species had founded the Council millennia ago, shifted uncomfortably in their suspension field. High Chancellor Vexter of the Primus Collective rose from his seat, his translucent form pulsing with barely contained alarm. "Ambassador Chung, you cannot possibly understand what you're refusing. The Krell Dominion has mobilized 70 battle fleets. They demand access to your species' neural architecture technology. If we do not negotiate, then we don't negotiate," Jackson interrupted, his voice carrying the weight of Earth's combined military command. "With respect, Chancellor, humanity didn't ask to be brought into galactic politics. You came to us." Emma placed a gentle hand on Jackson's arm, a practiced gesture that had become their silent communication during these tense sessions. She took over seamlessly. "What Commander Rivera means is that we've reviewed the Council's historical precedents. In every case where a species possessed technology the Krell desired, the Council's negotiations resulted in that species surrendering their technological advantages in exchange for protection they never actually received." The chamber erupted. 17 different species began broadcasting their objections simultaneously, creating a cacophony that even the translation matrices struggled to parse. Emma waited, her expression serene, while Jackson's hand drifted unconsciously toward where his sidearm would have been in any other circumstance. "The Yothari were promised protection," Emma continued once the noise subsided. "They gave the Krell their phase shift technology. 3 cycles later, their homeworlds were absorbed into the Dominion. The Helex trusted the Council's arbitration, surrendered their quantum computing cores, and now serve as a client species. Shall I continue?" Councillor Drenanak of the Velcorn hegemony, one of the Council's more pragmatic voices, leaned forward in her gravity well. "Ambassador, your research is impressive but irrelevant. Those species lacked a military capability to defend themselves. Humanity is different, yes, but you've only been a spacefaring species for 200 of your years. The Krell have conquered for 50,000 cycles. There is no shame in accepting reality." Jackson's laugh was short and bitter. "No shame in surrender, you mean?" "Commander," Vexter's tone carried a warning note that transcended species barriers. "Your bravado may play well on Earth, but here it reveals dangerous ignorance. The Krell Dominion has atomized civilizations that defied them. They've rendered entire star systems uninhabitable. They possess weapons your species cannot even detect, much less defend against." Emma tapped her datapad, and the chamber's central holographic display activated. A star chart materialized, showing the expansion of the Krell Dominion over the past 10,000 cycles. Red tendrils spread across the galaxy like infected veins, consuming systems, bypassing others, following patterns that seemed random at first glance. "We've analyzed the Krell expansion," Emma said, her voice taking on the clinical tone she used when presenting uncomfortable truths. "They're not random conquerors. They're strategic. They target species with specific technological advantages, absorb those technologies, then move to the next target. The Council doesn't negotiate with the Krell, the Council feeds them." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the ambient hum of the station system seemed to pause. "You accuse us," Vexter began, but Emma cut him off with a gesture that would have been impossibly rude in any other context. "I accuse the Council of survival through appeasement," she said. "And I don't blame you. You've maintained peace in your territories by sacrificing others. It's logical. It's even ethical by a certain utilitarian standard. But humanity won't be the next sacrifice. Jackson pulled up a secondary display. While your council has been debating which of our technologies to hand over to the Krell, we've been analyzing their fleet movements. They're not preparing for war with humanity. They're preparing for war with the Volthene Empire in the outer reaches. The neural architecture technology they claim to want from us? They'll have it in 6 months when the Volthene fall. This whole negotiation is theater. Counselor Sheelek of the Crystalline Archons, whose species rarely spoke except on matters of grave importance, chimed with a sound like breaking glass. Her words came through the translator with unusual force. If you understand the Krell's true target, why risk their wrath by refusing? Let them take what they will eventually possess anyway. Spare your species the Dominion's attention. Emma closed her datapad and looked directly at each council member in turn, a very human gesture that made several of them uncomfortable. Because when the Volthene fall and the Krell turn back toward the council territories, you'll need allies who haven't given away every strategic advantage they possess. You'll need someone who remembers how to say no. Allies? Vexler's laugh was bitter. Humanity has 6 colonies and a fleet of 300 warships. The Council represents 2,000 inhabited systems and commands defensive forces numbering in the tens of thousands. What possible alliance could you offer that would outweigh the risk of Krell aggression? Jackson smiled, and several council members recognized the expression from Earth's primitive history vids. It was the smile of a predator that had already won. The Council commands tens of thousands of ships designed for defense, patrol, and peacekeeping. Humanity's 300 warships were designed for one purpose: killing. Emma shot Jackson a warning look, but she didn't contradict him. Instead, she softened his statement with context. What the commander means is that human military doctrine evolved in isolation from galactic norms. We didn't build ships to defend trade routes or project political power. We built them anticipating that our first contact with alien life might be hostile. Every human warship carries weapon systems the Council has never seen because they violate 17 different galactic conventions on warfare. Conventions exist for a reason, Drenanak protested. Certain weapons are banned because they're too terrible to use. Antimatter cascade torpedoes, quantum entanglement mines, dimensional shear cannons. These devices don't just destroy enemies. They make space itself uninhabitable. The Krell use all of those, Jackson pointed out. They're just not signatories to your conventions. Vexler's form flickered with agitation. You would have us descend into total war? Abandon millennia of carefully constructed limitations? The galactic community survived the Scream Wars precisely because we agreed to constraints on our destructive capacity. Emma's expression softened with something that might have been sympathy. High Chancellor, we're not advocating for unlimited warfare. We're pointing out that the Krell already practice it. Your conventions mean nothing to them. They're just rules you've imposed on yourselves that make you easier prey. Then what do you propose? Sheelek's chime was resigned. If humanity won't negotiate with the Krell, and won't share technology with the Council, what purpose does this conversation serve? Emma and Jackson exchanged a look, one of those silent communications that comes from working together under pressure. Jackson gave an almost imperceptible nod. We propose an alternative alliance, Emma said. Not based on Council oversight or Krell appeasement, but on mutual defense and technological exchange between equals. Humanity has developed unique military technologies. Other species in this chamber have capabilities we lack. The Velkarn's gravity manipulation, the Archon's energy field generation, the Helix's quantum computing if we can free them from Krell control. You speak of rebellion, Vexler said flatly, of fracturing the Council and inviting Krell retaliation. We speak of survival, Jackson countered. The Volthene Empire will fall in 6 months. After that, the Krell will turn their attention back to Council space. You can either wait for them to dictate terms, or you can prepare to resist. Counselor Drenanak's sensory stalks moved in what human xenopsychologists had learned indicated deep thought. And if we join this alliance of yours? What guarantee do we have that humanity won't simply replace the Krell as a new hegemon? Emma pulled up a document on the chamber's display. This is the Terran Alliance Charter. It's a working draft, but the principles are clear. No species surrenders sovereignty. All military technologies remain under the control of their originating species. Decisions are made by consensus, not majority vote or force. Any member can leave at any time. Naive, Vexter said, but there was less conviction in his tone. Alliance structures like that collapse under pressure. When the crisis comes, someone must have ultimate authority. Then let them collapse, Emma said simply. Humanity would rather fight alone than surrender our freedom of choice. If the alliance falls apart, we'll defend Earth with everything we have. If it holds, we'll defend each other. But we won't participate in a system where fear of the Krell determines every decision. The chamber fell silent again. Outside, through the transparent dome, the nebula continued its slow cosmic dance. Indifferent to the deliberations of mortal species, finally, Drenanak spoke. The Velkorn hegemony requests a recess. We need time to consult with our home government. As do the Archons, Shilek added. One by one, the council members made similar requests. Only Vexler remained seated, his translucent form dim with what might have been exhaustion or despair. You've thrown everything into chaos, he said quietly, speaking directly to Emma and Jackson. The council has maintained peace for 3,000 cycles through careful diplomacy. In one session, you've undermined the entire structure. Emma gathered her materials, her expression neutral but not unkind. High Chancellor, with respect, you haven't maintained peace. You've maintained order. There's a difference. Peace would mean the Krell aren't a constant threat. Order just means you've organized how you'll feed them, your members one at a time. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Vexter called out, Ambassador Chung, Commander Rivera. Off the record, what makes you think humanity can succeed where older, wiser species have failed? Jackson turned back, his military bearing softening slightly. Because we're not wiser, Chancellor. We're newer to the galaxy, which means we haven't learned your habits yet. We haven't learned how to rationalize surrender. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what this situation needs. Emma added one final thought. Besides, humanity has a saying, it's better to die on your feet than live on your knees. It might not be wise. It might not be logical. But it's what we are. They left the chamber to a silence more profound than any shouting match. Behind them, the council members began the slow, difficult process of contemplating what had once been unthinkable. Saying no to the inevitable dot in her private quarters later, Emma finally let her diplomatic mask slip. Jackson found her staring out at the station's view of Earth, visible as a blue-green gem in the distance. You think they'll go for it? He asked. Some will. The Velkorn are pragmatic, they'll calculate the odds. The Archons respect strength, others ... She shrugged. We gave them an option. Whether they take it is up to them, and if they don't? Emma smiled, tired but determined. Then humanity learned a very valuable lesson today about our place in the galaxy. We're alone, but we're free. And sometimes that has to be enough. Jackson moved to stand beside her, both of them looking at their home world. The Krell will come eventually. Yes, we might not win. Probably not, but we'll make them remember us. Emma's smile widened. Commander, I think we already have. Far across the station, in encrypted communications that spanned light years, the message was already spreading. Humanity had declined to negotiate. Humanity had said no. And throughout the galaxy, species that had forgotten what defiance felt like began to remember. The Galactic Council would never be the same. And neither would the Krell Dominion. Once they realized their next target wasn't going to simply roll over, the age of appeasement was ending. What came next would be written in fire and determination, with humanity holding the pen.